what I know was that Marquay and Royale went over to the house, over to that trailer at different times over the weekend. I think Royale went over on Sunday, and Marquay was over there from Friday. Everything was fine at the trailer. There weren't any problems. Nobody was having any issues. Sunday night, they primarily were watching the football game. Royale fell asleep at some point during the game, and so did Bryce. And I think that was out in the living room itself, because that's where they ended up sleeping. They'd wake up a little later, play some video games, and probably do that till about 2 o'clock in the morning. But that they ended up sleeping out there in the living room. Marquay and his girlfriend went back to her room and went to bed. Tiffany and her boyfriend slept in the master bedroom, and then the other young lady slept in her room, which is next to the master bedroom. There's a bathroom between them, but next to the master. Tiffany and her boyfriend Robert have to leave the trailer. It was Monday morning, so they had to leave roughly 5 o'clock in the morning so that they could go to work.
Have this been proven?
We have no problem with what they're telling us. According to Tiffany's mom, she showed up as normal, and according to Robert's work, he showed up.
So they both were supposed to be at work at
Yes.
the time?
Yeah, that morning. They have to leave early.
How did he take the 9-year-old with him then?
See,
He couldn't take it to work?
No, he did not. He took the 9-year-old went over to Tiffany's mom's house, to the daycare.
That's where he took him?
Yeah, well, that's where they went. They had their own car. And so they drove in the one car over to the daycare. And Robbie and Tiffany stayed there. And then her boyfriend left to go to work.
I need to look up this newspaper article, because
When was the last time they saw
that's
him
not
alive?
gonna.
They would have seen, Bryce comes in around just before 5. He hears people moving around. He comes in, talks to his mom, then he goes back out. That's just before they leave.
Okay.
Royale, they think, is still asleep at that point, probably on the couch in the living room. Tiffany says when she leaves, Royale is, or there are people on the couch in the living room. She's assuming Royale and Bryce, but she doesn't know that for a fact. It was dark. She didn't look real close. She just knows there's a couple people sleeping on the couches in the living room.
How big is this trailer?
It's a single wide. It's 1, 2, 3 bedroom. So she, her boyfriend.
So from the bedroom,
Mhm.
do you have to pass through the living room?
Well, you come down a hallway, you'll pass a bathroom, you'll pass another bedroom, and then you'll come to the, I'm trying to remember, I think it's the living room right then, but the door's just right there.
Before you get out,
Yeah.
but you have to go through the living room.
Well, you're right
Yeah.
at the living room. You don't actually go through it, you're right at it. But as you come through, the door's right there. You have one couch on one side, one couch on the other. But she says she didn't look real close, she just saw 2 people, one on each couch.
Okay.
They leave. Bryce will tell us that it's around, he's not sure on times, but that he and Royale will wake up and will originally be playing video games in the living room. Royale will be on Bryce's phone, and Bryce will be on the game station that's hooked to the TV set. They'll be playing video games, and at some point they decide to go back to the bedroom. once again, remember Bryce is 11. He does try to lie at first. He tells his family different stories originally. But he goes back to the bedroom with Royale, and then he'll go into the bathroom, which is just outside the bedroom. Now his sister, who's in the room next to the bathroom, she knows that Bryce goes into the bathroom. Now, she may just assume it's Bryce, but she knows somebody goes in there. And Bryce says he did go in there. Bryce's first story to me, not the first story he told, but the first one to me, was that he hears a shot while he's in the bathroom. And when he comes back in to the bedroom, he finds Royale on the ground with a gun on top of him.
Okay, what was the first story?
That he hears a shot while he's in the bathroom, and then finds Royale in the master bedroom on the ground.
Okay.
Now, ma'am, I just want you to know, I'm more than happy to let you record it,
Uh-huh.
but if I see it anywhere besides with one of you,
Honey, this is for us.
okay.
Believe me,
I
it's
just
for
wanna make
us.
sure,
I don't
because-
go viral. This is for us.
because
This is for us.
This kind of stuff, if it gets out, can mess up
The
the investigation.
Look, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
I just want to make sure.
Uh-huh.
we're
I
all
know
on
what
the
I'm
same
doing. I'm
page.
72. I know what I'm doing.
Thank you, ma'am.
He's just making
I'm
a
just
statement.
making
All
sure.
right.
Yeah.
All
We're
right,
all
keep
set.
talking.
All
We
right.
on the same page. Come on.
But he says that he finds him laying on the floor with the gun on him. Now, through the interviews we did before we talked to Bryce, and we talked to Bryce with his dad, because by law, we can't talk to somebody under 14 without a parent or guardian. 14 and above, we can. And his dad was telling him, tell the truth. So he tells me this story. We've interviewed the other girls by that point. We've interviewed Marquay by that point. I talked to the detectives real quick about that. And I'll go back in and talk to Bryce some more, because we know Bryce isn't telling the truth. I had not been able to be into the trailer yet. We had just gotten a search warrant for the trailer so that we could go in legally and process the scene. But from what my understanding was, because of the type of gun and the size of the gun, that it's going to be very difficult. Yeah, I never go impossible on many things, but it'd be extremely difficult and unlikely for certain. So I go back in and I explain to Bryce that the truth is very important and we really need to know what's going on. Bryce had concerns about what would happen to a juvenile if something accidental happened like this, and what would happen to his parents. And I explained to him that on this day, they would all go home, because that's what was going to happen. And so Bryce will tell me that same story, they play the games, they go back to the bedroom, he goes into the bathroom. He'll say when he comes out of the bathroom, he'll say Royale has gotten into the gun safe. I can't say whether that's true or not. I can say somebody got into the gun safe, and it's going to be one of the two boys. I can't tell you for sure that the gun safe, that the latch was turned, but I think, like I know I've told you, the safe, it is an actual gun safe, but it has a key lock, and that key lock has been tampered with sometime long distance in the past, not recent. And essentially, at one point, I even went back and took my car key for my truck, and I could stick it in there enough and turn it, so it would turn the lock. So it's like a doorknob without a handle. So if you have a butter knife, a different key, a screwdriver.
So basically it wasn't really locked.
It was a closet that had a closed door.
So it's not to say that they actually, see on the news, they're saying that they broke into it,
Well,
when really they didn't have to break into it.
Well, the news is gonna say what the news says, so that's gonna
Well,
be a whole other story.
and
I understand, but what I'm saying is that
in
this,
talking to Tiffany,
they're saying what is told to them.
in talking to Tiffany, she seems to think the lock still works, is what she tells me. And
But
talking-
you know that it,
I know it doesn't. And talking to her boyfriend, he says No, pretty much anything can open it. One of the girls tells us they don't know anything. They don't know how to get into it, and they don't get into it because they also keep medication for the one young lady locked up in there. Tiffany says she does not get the kids permission to get into the safe, ever. And that if somebody needs something out of it, like medicine, and she's not gonna be around, she'll get the medicine specifically what they need and put it on top of that or on her nightstand and then close it back up. But what Bryce will tell us is as he goes in, Royale is in the safe, it's open, and they decide they wanna play BB gun wars. There are 2 BB guns and there's the 1 shotgun. He'll say that he takes the 1 gun, Royale has a different one. There are BBs laying out on the bed. I mean, it's a small room and it has I think a full-size bed in it. So it takes up most of the space in this room. You have a little space around both sides to walk on the 3 sides. There are BBs laying on the bed, such as if they were to open the little loading port on the gun and you shake it, you can hear a BB gun rattle, and that's how you know it's got BBs in it. But then you can kind of shake it and try to get them to all come out. One of the guns does not have any BBs in it. Another one does still rattle, still does have some in it. And then there's the shotgun. It's a single barrel break open shotgun. It has a hammer that has to be pulled back before it can be fired. One of the BB guns is a little lever action that you pump the lever on it. The other one has a 4 end on it that pumps. And Bryce says that they're gonna do this BB gun war, and he says, Royale says, ready, set, go, and they both go to point the guns at each other. He pulls the trigger and the shotgun goes off. He says he had no idea the shotgun was loaded. He believed it was unloaded.
So they was across from each other.
Across the bed.
And Royale got shot where?
In the face.
Where at?
On the left side, right here by the corner of his mouth.
It wasn't under his chin?
No, ma'am, it was right in here. It caused significant damage to this side of his face, but it appears to have been right at the corner of the mouth is where it would have hit him. But the shotgun goes off and Royale drops, is how Bryce puts it.
So was it a buckshot?
No, it was a slug,
Just a slug?
yes. I can tell you from what I saw while I was out there, because I did go out there later, when the coroner was out there, before Royale was taken to their office. I do not believe he moved at all after the shot was fired. I believe he probably died instantly.
So why did he have no chin bone nowhere?
The round that hit him is a chunk of lead about this big. Weighs, I'm trying to remember, it's right at about 1/5 of an ounce of lead. And I think it hits right in here, right in the bone area, and I think that just causes everything to blow up at that point. This whole section. It just caused that much traumatic damage.
So you said the BB gun and the shotgun look like a BB gun then?
To somebody who knows better, no.
Not anybody.
But my understanding from talking to these folks, the shotgun was purchased a number of years ago for Bryce's older brother, and Bryce has never, they go with their, I think it's a step grandfather, don't hold me to that, but I think that's who they said it was, up in maybe Ottawa, outside Ottawa. And the older brother and Robbie, the younger boy, would go out and had shot, but not in years. The older brother, who doesn't live there, really had no interest. It ends up put back in the safe. Tiffany believes, and everybody at the trailer, for the most part, tells us that gun hasn't been out of that safe since they've lived in the trailer, which is almost a year and a half. That they haven't gone out and shot since then, in that time period that they've lived in the trailer. There are 2 boxes of the same type of ammo in the safe. One of them is missing 2 rounds. Obviously the one that was in the gun, and then the other one, they can't remember when they shot it. Like I say, they say it's been so long since they've had that gun out and shot it. The boxes were not open. They were completely closed up. Really doesn't prove anything, but my belief from knowing 10 and 11-year-old boys is that if they had gotten in that box to get 1 round out, they probably wouldn't have closed that box up.
Well, to me, thinking the way I was back then, I would have made sure I closed the box because I didn't ever want to get caught
Sure.
that I was ever playing in there.
Sure.
So I'd have made sure I closed that box.
But I would expect them to put the 1 round back.
Well,
I don't
The
see
thing,
them
the
loading
thing
the
with
gun.
me is that's what I was gonna say.
Uh-huh.
And if the bullet was taken out, it was intentionally put in there for a reason.
Yes, ma'am.
I do know, and I don't know if you're aware of the behavioral conditions and the way that both of these children were. I also want to, are you aware that they didn't always get along?
You know, in talking to the other kids in the place, and Tiffany and Marquay, nobody has ever told us that the kids didn't get along, that they got along fine, that, you know, being kids, I'm assuming nothing's perfect, but nobody has told us anything about there being any real issues between these 2 boys. Certainly nothing that would lead me to believe that one or the other would want to hurt the other one like that.
Well, I can only say this is hearsay because of what I'm told.
Who's telling you?
My sister would tell me that they didn't always get along.
Okay.
That they were friends. They were really friends. And whenever he would go visit, that's who he would go to visit. And they both would want them to stay. But sometimes he wasn't allowed to because they didn't always get along.
Sure. Okay. Is there any idea what they didn't get along about?
Who knows?
Yeah. And like I say, I've got
Kids.
I've got 2 sons, and they're a year apart, what you call Irish twins, and
Well,
they're older now, and for the most part now they get along pretty good. But yeah, when they were younger, it was it could be an ugly scene when I showed up home from work.
So from here, where do we go?
Well, what we've done at this point is we fingerprinted the guns. We fingerprinted the one casing that was in the gun was actually all steel. It was made out of steel. There were ridges on it, as in your hand has, or your fingerprints made up of ridges and loops. There were some ridge on them, but they were not comparable. You have to have enough. You have to have enough of a print to compare. They are not comparable. The guns themselves, the investigator did not find any prints on them.
on any of them.
Nothing that would look to her like a fingerprint. Now,
So what happened to the fingerprint?
well,
That was on that
Well-
door.
They walked away.
Don't let your dog out.
Oh, they did?
No,
I said,
she
don't.
said don't let them out.
Oh, I thought you, alright.
you're afraid I might buy it.
I don't care if you bite it out. I don't want to see it.
I don't think anything happened to them. I just don't think they existed. The problem we have with fingerprints, and you can look this up, you can call somebody and ask them. Fingerprints are a very fragile thing. They're created by you having something on your hand, whether it's an oil from your own hand, sweat, something like that, or if you put your hand in something and then put your hand on something, Most common would be blood, but other things can do it too. Paints, syrups. That's how you
Did
leave.
you find anything on the gun whatsoever?
Prints-wise, not that I know of.
What about anything else?
Such as
Blood, anything?
on the shotgun, no. But it was, I would guess, I can't say for sure, I would guess that the muzzle, the front end of the shotgun, was probably 20 to 24 inches away from Royale when it went off. On the other, one of the BB guns was on the floor. Like I say, when he was shot, he fell straight down. One of the BB guns was on the floor under his legs. The other BB gun, and I'm trying to confirm this for sure because the fire department were the first one there and they moved it, but it was laying or leaning on the bed right next to where Royale was at. The forearm on it was pulled down a little bit, it appears, and there is some blood and tissue on it. And then
I just don't understand how out of 3 guns, there's not one print.
it depends on the surfaces, it depends on the people. Like I say, first they have to have something that's gonna leave a print, not
So the
just,
little boy seemed to be calm when he shot him then.
well, they're just playing, is the story. I mean, there's nothing going on real.
You got that word is right, a story.
I know. But there doesn't seem to be any type of disturbance or argument. Nobody in the trailer, not Mark Quay, neither one of the girls hears a disturbance or an argument of any kind.
Now, when you do premeditated murder, ain't gonna be no damn argument.
Why would he kill him? I guess would be my question. I
Now,
guess,
that's not, yeah, that's what you need to find out.
but do you guys have any ideas? I mean, if you're thinking that's something that occurred, then I'd love to know.
Yeah, that's exactly, I think y'all be charged with first degree premeditated murder. I think you did it on purpose.
Do you know why? I mean, I don't understand. I don't know either one of these young men other than this day that I met them.
Well, but you seem to think Royale was playing with the gun when we know he had a fear of it.
Mhm.
You don't have a problem saying that.
No,
And I don't have a problem saying what I said.
Carolyn, what I don't have a problem is telling you what I've been told.
Well,
Hearsay.
But I also don't have a way to really disprove it. I understand you're telling me he's feared of it, but I don't know how I can go about proving that, like you and I have discussed, you know, these kids get into an environment that's not around us, that's not in ours.
Okay,
And they
where
do
he
things
gonna be? He
different.
ain't gonna play with no gun.
And we can understand that happens
And I got
sometimes.
people to get on the
And
witness
that's one
stand.
reason why I believe that young man knew about the guns. I believe that he knew where the key was. He lives there. I mean, he knew these things.
Sure.
And I don't believe that Royale went into his parents' room and got out a gun out of his parents' safe. I believe that young man did that.
Now, I have no problem agreeing with you on that that's probably what occurred. That's not what he says.
And yes,
But you're right, it makes more sense
and then
that happened.
Well, I mean, the
and
way
it
we
makes
look
me
at it-
wonder, why did he go and get the gun in the first place? And I want to know, what time did this incident actually take place?
I believe it happened right around 8:20 in the morning.
And this has been proven?
As I know 8:20 would be within about 3 or 4 minutes of when the call came into 911.
Okay, but I want to know, has it been proven through blood
like the time of
coagulation
death.
and things like that?
There's no test to prove that.
There is. Oh yeah, there's tests.
So no, so you what you're saying is there's no way that they can determine the time of death?
Yes, sir.
That's not true.
That's not true.
I
Y'all
watch
just
too
not,
much
y'all just not willing to
real
pay.
stuff on television,
I understand.
and they can tell by the coagulation of the blood
Well,
and things
here's-
like that,
here's what I'm gonna
and the
say.
temperatures of the bodies.
okay, here's what I'm gonna suggest that you do then, because understand, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a detective who's worked with doctors. You can call and talk to Dr. Gorrill. He's the one who did the autopsy. It's Gorrill. He's at the coroner's office there. If you need the number, I can give you that. And talk to him about that. But I can tell you that yes, there are rare circumstances where they do something tricky with science, but they're extremely rare. In the 26 years I've been working murders, I've never had a doctor, none of the doctors I've worked with in that time period, who would even venture to do that.
And that's not fair, because that means they're just taking
You say
somebody's
there's,
word.
in all the time that you've been working, that there's no doctors that would say that there
I'm
was a
not-
time established?
Not,
I've been doing
None.
this 30 years,
okay,
and I disagree with that.
okay.
Um,
None of the
I-
doctors I've worked with, none of the coroners
Mhm.
I've worked with will do that.
So I guess they just don't do that here in Wichita then, right?
That may be,
Can I just lay out
Uh-huh.
what we feel
sure,
happened? They got into a disagreement for whatever reason, either over a game or what it was. The child, because Royale's not gonna stand down, he's not ever gonna back down unless you prove that he's wrong.
okay,
The other child gets mad. He wants to show him up that he's gonna let him know who he is because he has a gun. Comes back with it, kills Royale because Royale's not gonna back down, and Royale probably was saying things back and forth to him.
okay,
That's
No, I
what we
believe that-
believe, and we don't believe it happened at 8:20
Mm-mm.
because Marquay had headphones on.
mhm,
Those things up as loud as they are,
He wouldn't have
you
heard the shot.
cannot hear a gunshot or someone screaming.
But Marquay sleep, you can barely call his name and he'll answer.
And on top of that, Royale's not a morning person.
Never.
No.
The boy cannot get up in the morning. So
Okay.
why would he have gotten up to
in the
go
morning
play
to
with
play
the gun?
games
That
and
I
play
don't
with
know.
with a gun.
I don't know.
Okay.
Royale didn't even like to see it, guns pointing at, seemed like it was
From the
pointing at him from the
television.
television.
Sure,
Okay? I'm telling you, I've been doing this 30 years. I'm from Massachusetts.
mhm,
I came here because we have to make a difference. This
Okay.
can't just happen and just go away.
okay.
His child,
It's not
grandson
gonna go
was
away.
killed.
And understand,
And-
I hear what you're all saying, I just don't
And
know
we
how I'm gonna
understand.
prove what you're gonna tell me.
Exactly. But I think there
We
has to
wanna
be
know-
more done.
Is there something else that you can do about what we are saying? Are you willing to go that far for us to find out?
Do in which way?
For instance, this autopsy, when was the time of death?
We can get that
That's,
information
you'll have
ourselves.
to talk to
Mhm.
Dr. Gorilla, okay, because I can tell you that the way that they're going to determine the time of death, and not just this case,
Mhm.
but in almost every case that the coroners in this jurisdiction do it, it's gonna be based on when the person was last seen alive and when they were found deceased.
But there could be holes in that story where they're not telling the truth of when they last saw him alive. Just because Marquay didn't see him
I
past a
understand.
certain time doesn't mean the child wasn't already dead because Marquay didn't see him walk back and forth anymore.
I understand that.
So
But at this point, and I understand, I'm not saying that people don't lie to me.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is at this point, so the sister whose room is closest would have to be part of a conspiracy on this.
And the
Depending on,
parents as well.
depending on how early you believe that this would have
Were
occurred.
the parents there when you guys arrived?
The mother was. She had come back by then. They had called her.
and that was quickly, right?
And she lives, or her mother's daycare is about 10 minutes away. And she got there just before fire and EMS got there.
Did she tell you she
Someone-
called Geneva and said your son's hurt,
I think so, yes ma'am.
not dead? He was dead. He wasn't hurt.
I don't think she knew that at the time.
I think she
Oh, she
did.
knew.
Come on now. Oh my God.
She knew. Maybe she, for whatever reason, didn't want to say it, but she knew. I was also told that she took her children in one room, and they took Marquay to another.
No, that was at the where they interviewed.
Oh,
No, my understanding is the kids who were there, Bryce runs off wearing a pair of shorts and nothing else. And an officer finds him walking around later. And one of the sisters chased after him but lost sight of him, and she went to another trailer, and we located her there very quickly.
And they never told you about this young man, how he fought his parents and called them out of their names and
How Bryce did?
threatened them and things like that? No one ever told you about his...
No. Oh man. And going through the DCF records,
Mhm.
they do not show anything like that. There's been no reports, made through the children and families.
So there's
about
no
that.
DCF report, or there's no report made in that fact?
In that fact, there are some DCF
Okay,
reports.
so there had to be something going on just to have a DCF report.
Well, it's primarily between the mom and the dad, and
Oh.
fighting over custody and kids like that.
Hello.
Okay.
What, Royale?
Can you tell me what the district attorney's name is?
Yeah, it's Mark, M-A-R-C,
Okay, well,
Bennett,
we're at the
B-E-N-N-E-T-T.
meeting, so I'll call you back.
And the number for him is 660-3600.
And, who's that, 660?
Yes, ma'am.
3600?
Yeah, it's a 316 area code.
Okay. And at what point will they determine,
George.
if they're gonna do anything?
That, I can't tell you when they'll make that determination. Currently, my appointment with them is set up for the 14th. And that's when I'll present it to them. I'm hoping to move that up some, but that depends on them. They have to get to it. We do what we call with a murder.
Yeah.
We do what we call a felony review, where they have 2 or 3 attorneys, if not more, in the room, and not just one charging attorney. And so getting their schedules balanced out is a problem I fight.
Okay.
And you said that there was proof about both parents being at work,
Yes, that they were both not there at this time. Yes, ma'am.
but
Were
there
they-
was proof that they were both
They
at
went
work.
to work. Yes, ma'am.
It was proven.
Yes.
When the initial call was made, was she there, the mother there when Markway called?
911?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't believe so. She didn't get there until after they were already on the phone to 911. It was, Mark Way's dating Hannah, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. It was Hannah and Alexis who were there with Mark Way, and I believe I can't remember if it was Hannah or Alexis who was on the phone to 911. But they tried to do CPR on Royale per the dispatcher's instructions. I think if you wanted to, you could probably get a copy of the 911 call through the Kansas Open Records Act. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but that'd be through Sedgwick County.
There was an elderly lady who told someone, I can't remember, and I'm gonna try to remember who that was, spoke to someone that she knows, said that her son is an officer, so she listens to the scanner.
Mhm.
She said that and I gotta find out who it was, I'll remember who was here that night, said that that when they found the young man, the father was with him.
No. He was not. He was walking alone. The officer found him, picked him up, took him up to my office, and the father wasn't with him until just minutes before we did our interview.
Okay.
So all you do is present the case, right?
I present the
evidence.
case that we have, what
find.
evidence we have. Yes, ma'am. They make the determination as to what, if any, charges get filed on any case.
When will this take place? Because there's some things we would like to find out first, like through the autopsy.
Okay. I'm supposed to talk to them on the 14th.
Also, did Quay say the demeanor of the little boy when he woke him up?
As I recall, he's here. I mean, you can ask him. But as I recall, he said that the little boy was, excited and upset, and they didn't believe him at first. He had to tell them, he had to, convince them that
That he killed himself, that's what he
That's
told
what
me.
he told.
Well, and
Oh, he
once
wasn't.
again, like I told you, Bryce did tell different stories to different people because we had both stories from the sisters.
And I
One
believe,
sister told us that what Bryce said was that they were playing, and then the gun went off.
So that's your final
What is
story that you're going to present to the DA.
I present everything to the DA.
what did the other sister say?
She said that Bryce told her and Quay that he shot himself.
And you don't believe that Bryce wiped the fingerprints off any of the guns? Well, see, what I'm trying to see is, I just, for the life of me, I just don't believe that you can't get not one fingerprint off of anyone.
Well, and I understand that, and I would love to be able to show you, but I'm not, no offense to me, I don't think you'd believe what I tell you, just like with the time of death. So what I'm gonna tell you is you can research it yourself. You can call experts. There are experts out there who are probably more than happy to talk to you. I don't know if they charge you or not. There's private investigators in town here who, do their own thing. Many of them are ex-law enforcement. Some of them aren't. There are private companies that do fingerprinting. There's a reason when they take your fingerprints, if you've ever had your fingerprints taken, that they put the ink on, is so that it will make the print. Because without, like I say, without something there, you're not going to leave a print. And there's a reason they use a certain type of surface when they put your prints on that paper. They use a certain type of paper.
I understand what you're saying, but I just don't understand how the 3 weapons, they are not, neither one of theirs.
And nobody's
And nobody
fingerprints in
else
the
who
house.
put them in the safe in the first place.
Prints are also something that disappears because they're made out of liquid,
Okay,
so that can evaporate.
so that could have, but through the 3 guns out of both boys playing with them, they're gripping them and things. They're not just barely holding on to those weapons.
And I know their
If they're
hands ain't
playing-
that clean.
And I know they're not either. Them boys was holding them weapons.
Okay.
It should have been some fingerprints.
Alright,
And the
and
only-
see, my thing, if it ain't none and you ain't sweating, he's cool. When he doing what he doing. So he ain't excited and he ain't caring, so if you gotta have some sweat or something, when he shoots that gun, he's cool with it. He's calm with it.
At the point the gun goes off, I think, probably so.
Tell me something,
Yes, sir.
what about the, residue, gun residue?
That's what I was gonna ask
Anything?
too.
Well, you're not gonna like my answer to that, but I'll tell you what I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
We don't test gunpowder residue. It's not a accepted test.
That's
It-
that's
Hold
another thing.
on, let me talk. Don't get all upset on me here. Just let me tell you why. Because once again, I'm gonna tell you to do your own research. Gunpowder residue is one of those things that is not commonly accepted as an investigative tool. Here's the biggest problem in this situation. Let's say that the science was such that we could swab them and get gunpowder residue. It's what's known as a presumptive test first. That means there's a presumption. You have something that makes you think it could be that. Could be a gun, could be a barbecue grill, could be exhaust from a car maybe, depending on the chemical reaction you're looking for. But the problem is, both of them are in a small room when a gun went off. We would expect to find gunpowder residue on both of them because the gun went off and they were both in the area when the gun went off. It's an area thing. It's not a specific thing to the person shooting the gun. It may be, he may not have it, but the person he shoots would. So, once again, gunpowder residue is one of those tests. It's has very specific incidents where there's been a purpose for it. And that's why that shows on TV and that's why they bring that out. But you don't see a lot of it. And
And
there
I
aren't a
guess-
lot of labs, including the FBI lab, that They don't test it.
And I guess at that time, considering that Bryce has finally admitted that he did it, he finally admitted that he done it. So I guess we really wouldn't need it to a degree of who shot the weapon. But to me, if it was gunpowder there, it would have some type of texture there to leave a print.
That's what they call it, an accident. And that's just not accident.
I understand. The only thing I see as possibly being an accident, and I understand I work in a world where words have a more literal meaning than sometimes in everyday life. There's no accident in this gunfiring. Bryce says he pulled the trigger.
That's right.
That's not an accident.
No, it's not.
Yes, you're in.
Now, his intent, according to him, and I have nothing to disprove that at the moment, was not to hurt Royale.
No, please.
Oh.
I don't have any reason to believe that. What? I need a motive, I guess.
It's
And-
Martin Luther King Day is one,
Oh my God.
and he's white, number 2.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, that could be.
They didn't always get along. I believe that they
I'm just
fought.
saying, you said you need a reason. I can give you several reasons.
Well, I need something that I can show as being factual in that situation.
Those are facts.
I don't know that.
It's a fact that he's white, and it is a fact that was Martin Luther King Day. Those are facts.
Yes, ma'am. And what would that have to do that would cause Bryce to think on
The
this
fact
day
that
at
they
this
didn't
time, I wanna
always
shoot
get
this
along
young man?
and that they fought. And that Royale is the
The
type
fact
that
is,
he doesn't care if it's your house, your room, your game. If he believes that he's standing for himself, he's gonna do it. The fact that Bryce believed it was his house, his game, he that he wasn't gonna let Royale get away with it.
Okay. Is there anybody, and I'm just asking, because I'll talk to anybody, is there anybody who can tell me that they know of them arguing at any time, not just that day, but having a fight, an argument, a disagreement, whatever you want to call it, any other time prior? Now, I understand there may be times that Tiffany decided, yeah, it's time for Royale to go home, and for some reason your sister had to go pick up Royale.
And there
And-
was
and I
times
would
when
like to
they
get-
wouldn't allow him to go.
And I would like to get your sister's name so I can talk to her about those times.
Yes.
Or you've got my number, she can have her call me too. And she can make up her own mind about whether she wants
Can
to
we
talk
call
to me or not.
This baby in here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would strongly suggest, questions about the science, find somebody who knows the science. Because I work off of what other people tell me on some of this, okay?
And so is there an age limit to how old children are to be left in a home alone?
I don't believe there is here. That's one of those things that gets tossed around quite a bit. The fact is, they weren't left alone. They were left with the 14-year-old and the 15-year-old young man.
That was sleeping
Right? Yes, ma'am.
and shouldn't have been together. So that lets me know that there's not very much structure, or maybe not structure, but supervision over this household. Because there's no way they'd have been laying in my house together.
You right.
I can't say that it would have happened in my house. Certainly not with my knowledge.
So that lets me know that there's some freedom that goes through there. There's not, parents are not parenting like they should.
And there are many people who will argue different parenting styles with you.
Yeah.
You and I would probably see eye to eye on many of them.
This is much.
Marquay,
This is too much.
you got his headphones on.
Yeah, it's like nothing will be there.
Marquay,
I'm gonna let that dog out.
Mommy's not gonna let the dog out. He knows you're in here. Here's your mom. Come here. Are you okay?
Yeah.
What's your name again?
I'm Detective Chisholm.
Have you met him
You
before?
been in here this whole time? No,
No.
no,
We just
no,
called
we just
him.
just
asked
called
him a
now.
question.
Well, she don't want him in here.
Okay, well, here's his mother. Let's ask her.
Ask me what?
Have you ever known Royale and Bryce to always get along?
No. No.
They were friends. They didn't know. Okay, that hurt talk. Yeah.
They were friends, but they're also boys. They fight. But a couple hours later, they'd be friends. He was closer to Robbie. He went to play with Robbie. Bryce, picked with Royale. He was younger. He picked with him and Robbie, the little brother. He was Robbie's friend, not Bryce's friend.
Okay.
So it doesn't make sense to me. That don't make sense that he was up playing with guns with Bryce. Because him and Bryce they were cool or whatever, but he was Robbie's friend.
Where the bed was, and Royale was he on the other side of the bed by the wall?
Yes,
He had him cornered up over there.
you could say that, yes.
That's what happened. He had him cornered up over against that wall.
You guys are pressing charges on
Royale was
something.
running to get away from him.
Go and talk to
and
this
he
attorney's
caught him.
office and they'll make decisions on what charges will get filed.
And if they hid Bryce, they need to be, the family needs to be, that's assessor. Because I heard that Bryce wasn't there.
No, he ran off
He ran off.
and the officers found him walking in the
No family members helped him run off.
No, his sister tried to chase him and bring him back.
Okay. I thought this was gonna be done by the time I got here.
We about
It's a good thing that you came so you can explain to him the truth about their relationship.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen them when they're fighting, arguing, having a disagreement?
Not over, I hear it over the phone. Like, if it becomes too much, Royale used to call and say, hey, come get me, because Bryce won't leave me alone. And so, most of the time, Robbie would end up over here, or at my house, with Royale.
So Robbie would
One
come over
time
here.
that Bryce did spend the night, we dropped them off early because Bryce and Royale had got into it.
When you say gotten into it, what do they do?
Argue. It starts off as arguments. I think one time Bryce punched Royale in the stomach. Royale hit him back.
You know
Of
when,
course.
you know when that was?
That was over the summer.
Okay.
That happened at my house.
Okay.
Which is why I took Bryce and Robbie home. And it was 2 days before school started.
Can you tell him how Royale sounded when he would call when there was a problem?
Agitated. Mad. Because most of the time it was, they probably tried, Bryce probably had done something to him and he felt like he couldn't hit him back or whatever, or they didn't allow him to hit him back. So he's on the phone, come get me. He's upset, he's mad. Yeah. I'll go get him. Most of the time, Robbie came back here with him. He was Robbie's friend, not Bryce's.
Okay.
The story, if you came to me and said Royale and Robbie was playing with a gun, it's believable. I will believe it. Even though my son doesn't play with guns, I would believe it because Robbie was his friend. For you to say that Royale and Bryce was playing with a gun, my heart's uneasy. My soul's uneasy.
Okay.
I believe he harmed my baby purposely.
Once again, do you know any reason why he would? Had there been any problem recently between them, or?
Not that I knew of. If there was any problem between them, I wouldn't have sent them out there.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? But boys are boys. They fight, you know.
Did they fight every time they were together?
No, not every time. No, not every time. But I'm saying, like, often enough
To make you think.
that
Sure.
this ain't no accident.
Okay.
And the type of child
And you know,
that he was, she can tell you. And now that I've heard what you said, the position of where he was, it was like he was cornered up, like he was running from him. He couldn't get out through the door.
and then a shot in the neck, that's not playing, that was a threat.
Well, the detective says
To
it's
me?
more shot here, so
More
I
in
don't
the
know where
face,
was
he
he really
said.
shot.
You have to find out what the autopsy is saying.
So I'm assuming if he shot him like toward the side of his face, he was. So if somebody pointed a gun, I'm doing this. Okay. So therefore, he's gonna get me here. Okay. He's turning away.
But this is what I'm saying. The type of child that Royale is, he stands for his own. He's not afraid to fight.
Sure.
So even if they say they, just for whatever sake they're saying that they're playing, he's not going to be cornered up. He's not going to be behind the bed up against the wall. That's not the type of child he
If
is.
you don't have nothing in your hands, you're not gonna back him up.
Okay.
And he stood his ground.
But being that you got a gun in your hand, yeah,
He's getting out of the way.
everybody's gonna move. Yeah, you would move too.
But Royale, he was getting out of the way. That's why he was backed up against that wall in between that bed.
Watch it.
You got anything else you wanna ask Roy?
Feel free, once again, feel free to call me anytime you got a question. I'll answer it the best I can.
So you're not going to the DA to February 14th. Why are you waiting so long?
Because that's the date they set for me.
And we want him to wait till we get as many answers as we can.
We're gonna do our own investigating.
Because if he goes with
Anything
what
y'all
he,
asking, you can call him. Matter of fact, Jackson got the,
yeah,
autopsy.
he's saying that. But what I'm trying to explain to Geneva is, we don't have, if he goes with what he got, then that's just all it is. We have questions that we need answers to before he go. So that he can present what we found out as well.
Are you guys pressing charges on the parents?
That's for the DA to decide. I present everything I have to them. I give them
Are
everything.
you presenting something on the parents?
Yeah, I'll be telling them that, the
Child
situation.
endangerment?
Well,
What is
that's
the
up-
charge?
With the charges would be up to the
The
district.
charges are up to them, yes.
He has to present all the facts that he found out, everything that he investigated, and gives it to them.
And if they have questions, they send me back to get those questions answered.
Is there anything else you need from us?
Not right now.
Our sister,
Mhm.
his name.
She can call me. You've got my number.
Who?
Your mom.
He just wanted to speak to her about what relationship and what Roy would maybe tell her about him and Bryce, about their relationship, because you know he was talk to her
Yeah.
and tell her.
He'd be a good person to talk to. Because he tell his grandma everything.
Okay.
Tell his grandma stuff he don't tell me. Because he know his grandma gonna do something.
Yeah, just have her give me a call.
Okay.
I'll talk with her. You know, if there's other people that need to be talked to, that's what I do. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody.
So have you been talking to Bryce's mother? Have you released
Not-
information to her?
No, I haven't talked to her this week. I talked to her, I think the last time I talked to Tiffany was maybe Wednesday or Thursday last week. And by information, I haven't had a sit down with them like this. They haven't called asking for anything from me.
They're probably hoping to stay away from
Because somebody
them. That's what I would think.
said that there was fingerprints on the gun. Is what they're saying.
Well, I can tell you Bryce, in his original story, tried to explain why his fingerprints would be on the gun, was because he picked it up and moved it. But then when we went back and talked to him a little more, where he told us he had the gun and he shot the gun, you know, his trying to explain why his fingerprints were on the gun really didn't become an issue to him anymore, because he was explaining that, what he believed would be fingerprints on the gun.
So as a detective, how does that make you feel when this kid tells one story and now he changes it? Like, do you think there could be more?
I always think there's more, and I always look for more. Problem is, if I can't find more, I just can't find more.
Have you spoke to him anymore?
I have not since that first day.
Why?
Waiting to get all the stuff back I can get back.
Well,
Then if there's something in there I can go back with, then that's what I do. Now, we did swab the guns. We swabbed the guns, we swabbed Bryce for his DNA. But once again, the issue I have with DNA, I would expect to find Royale's DNA on one, if not both of the BB guns at least.
Did you find it?
Well, I wouldn't know that for
get that back.
some period of time. It takes time for that.
Oh,
But
okay.
the problem is, because of the nature of his injury, I know on one of the BB guns, like I say, I saw there was blood and there was some tissue.
Mm-hmm.
So his DNA is going to be on that gun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that because it's touch DNA, or is that gonna be blood DNA?
It's better, yeah.
It's gonna be extremely difficult for the DNA people to tell me that.
Unless they just getting blood, taking it from the blood.
Well, you know, they have certain ways that they swap guns, because there are areas that are more likely to leave touch, what they call touch DNA. But because of the injury to Royale, there may be microscopic blood that I can't even see with my eyes in those areas, on the triggers and on the neural parts, the handles, things like that.
So actually, even though we don't have any prints, that does not mean that there won't be DNA showed up later.
It could, if we test
And
it.
so then why would you take what you have, even though they said this is the date that we want what you have? To me, I would rather wait before I have all the facts before I went and presented them.
Well, part of the issue is, before I take it over for DNA testing, I need to talk to the district attorney's office to find out if they're going to believe that DNA is necessary in this case.
And I think it is.
Well, once again,
I'm not saying that they're not gonna think that.
here's my problem though. That I expect Royale's DNA to be there because of the injury.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't separate out touch DNA from blood spatter, tissue, something along those lines, then it's not gonna answer the question.
So will y'all test the gun that doesn't have fingerprints for DNA?
None of them have it.
None of them have fingerprints that I know of, ma'am.
Okay, I'm saying the
And
gun
that
that
makes it
actually,
like
not the BB
to
gun,
me.
the
The
shotgun.
shotgun.
Are you guys gonna test that for DNA?
We have swabbed it, and yes, I'm
Did you?
contemplating testing that too.
But we know Robbie's DNA is gonna be on it.
That's what
Well,
I want.
but will
Well,
Royale's,
Royale's.
the problem again, they're in a tight area, and there was tissue, there was blood in areas of the room.
You can't tell a BB gun from a shotgun.
Well, it depends on how they made, especially for kids.
So these are big BB guns.
No, the weight of those guns are so different. Y'all,
They,
I'm not-
Bryce and them went hunting. They knew the difference between the BB gun
He
and
knew,
the
he
real
knew
gun.
what, he knew, like I said, he knew where the key was. You know, Royale didn't go in his mom's room and get nothing out of their safe. You know, that's something he had done. But what I'm saying is, so with the DNA thing, which we're saying that we know more than likely that it would be on there. I guess to me it would be the distance and where it would be found on it or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Because to me, I don't understand why it wouldn't be Bryce's DNA on there.
No, I would fully expect Bryce's DNA to be on the shotgun.
And if it's not, that just proves to me that somebody wiped these guns down.
Well, he believes that it is there.
I believe it would be there.
It would be there, so that's not even an issue.
No, but
The-
not right now until we find out.
The issue to me is,
The DA has to determine whether they're gonna use it.
will Royale's
I know,
DNA be on the
that's not what
shotgun?
I'm saying.
And if
yes.
it's on there, does that mean Royale handled the gun? Or does that mean that,
Well, then that would prove that they both was playing.
well, or is it because of the injury and the tissue and the blood that was in the air in that room, did it get on that gun from a blowback to that gun? And that's possible too. It may not even, you may not even looking at the gun, you may not even see blood and tissue and things like that. But the microscopic, the very fine particles, the mist that would be created from this injury could get on that gun. And then it comes back that Royale's DNA is on there. But that's, to me, not going to answer the question, did Royale handle that gun? Or is that from,
So
From
what
the
you're
injury.
saying, there's no way to possibly tell if he was handling the gun. That's what you're saying.
it's extremely difficult at this moment since they did not find any fingerprints that they could compare to anything.
Now this is what I'm saying. If you get DNA back and there is no DNA on these weapons,
That could
then
prove
that proves to me someone wiped them down.
It could prove that. It could also, DNA like fingerprints is one of those things that we get sometimes we don't.
Now we're not gonna just have no nothing at all
Okay.
in this closed room.
Okay.
It's
Well,
gonna be
I-
something somewhere.
I tend to agree with you on
I
that.
believe
And,
that
and I'm more than happy to.
that he panicked and he
do
tried
the
to make
DNA
it look
test.
like Royale killed himself. Because that's what he said.
Well,
And when he saw
I
that it
think he
didn't
did
fly,
panic
he admitted.
first. Yes.
And I
I agree
believe
with
that
you
he
on
had time to wipe things off.
Yeah, but even
So
if he
y'all
wiped
got
it
all
off, it'd
that
still be something.
You hope so,
questions
It's always
answered.
gonna be something, even if he wiped it off. Kid's not gonna go get the solution and
Same.
figure this whole thing out for, you know?
I'm not saying that it was just him.
Roy Senior,
Because
do you have any questions? Well, Royale's ready to be seen.
okay.
Thank you.
Certainly. I appreciate your time,
We
folks.
appreciate you.
And